All right. More importantly, we got draft night tonight, John. That should be pretty fun. I'm always excited about that. You are, because, no matter what happens, you generally walk away and you go, God, we got a shot. And, whether it's the Chicago Bears, I mean, everybody's got their shot, right? The Chicago Bears, it's pretty much lock, stock, and barrel. It's going to be Caleb, right? I mean, that's what everybody's been saying forever. I would be shocked if that wasn't the case, or if there was any kind of a trade there. But after that, you and I were talking about this a little bit yesterday, there might be some trades. If they don't trade, though, you got Caleb, you've got Drake May, then you've got Jaden Daniels, and now people are starting to really push more and more for J.J. McCarthy as well. I mean, he has been rising, John, and it's pretty interesting. You know who else finally is on the rise, because he was an afterthought? Penix is definitely somebody who they were looking over him, and he might slide to the Vikings. But nobody was talking about Bo Nix except for you and I. Now, all of a sudden, I look at a couple of mock drafts today, suddenly he's jumped all the way back right in there, John. Matter of fact, above Penix in a lot of different mock drafts that I'm looking at out there. Now, I just wanted to throw this out there as to why Bo Nix, in my opinion, would make sense. So, of the top 6 quarterbacks, he has the most touchdowns, 45. The least number of interceptions, 3. The highest percentage completion, 77. I mean, why is this guy not the lock, stock, barrel number 1 guy? I don't know. But the other thing is, how is this guy suddenly got a guy who might go in the high part of the second round or the bottom of the first round? Now I think reality is setting in, and people are saying, hey, look, this guy can play. Bo Nix is as good as anybody in the entire draft, so why not put him up there? And to your point, Michael Penix as well. I mean, I'll tell you what, I think Penix, I think Bo, I look at a few of these names, I put them up above J.J. McCarthy and some of the other quarterbacks. I'm not a huge Drake May guy either. I like Jaden Daniels. I think he's the best of the group, but I'm not sure about Drake May just yet, John. He's big. He's a little bit stiff. He's an athlete, sort of. But, he's that big quarterback who's going to stand back there with a big arm. He didn't have a great year last year, and yet he's the number 2 guy on most everybody's list. So what do you think about tonight? And by the way, 34 million people total audience last year in the first round, 34 million. There's actually numbers that show if you just took out a segment, it was closer to 55 million. So it just shows you that first round, those numbers are absolutely outrageous. I mean, and this is the draft. We're going up against NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, and meanwhile, the draft numbers are just outrageous.
They are, and they should be, because it is America's sport, Pete. It's America's game. All right, how about this? I'm going to throw out a couple players from Clemson, Pete. That's right, Clemson, because this cornerback, Nate Wiggins, a lot of people would have been just chatting him up because he ran a 4.28. But then, of course, Xavier ran a 4.21 or a 4.22 or whatever. But this kid is a burner. He had multiple pick sixes this past year. The kid, can lure a quarterback into thinking a guy's open and then just turn on those jets. So he was going to be a mid-first rounder, Pete. They say he has slipped, not because of the, combine or anything else, but because they worry, is he physical enough? Because he's only about 175 pounds. So that is a concern, but you can build him up, I'd say. Their big defensive tackle, Pete, 6'4", 300, 8 tackles for a loss, 5 sacks. I mean, this guy's name is Ruke, R-U-K-E. I guess. I don't know where you come up with that, but Ruke. So anyway, Rook versus Luke. I guess the parents just like the sound of that better, but I think that kid's a stud. And I think this linebacker, even though he doesn't have the big size that sometimes linebackers need, Pete, he's one of those guys in the middle, kind of like some of the linebackers who aren't 6'4" and 260 or 55 or whatever. But this guy, Jeremiah Trotter, man, 26 straight games he started at middle linebacker on one of the best defenses in football. That's Clemson. So I like that kid. And I'm not saying he's first rounder, Pete, but people are going to be looking at him hard because, again, he's durable and he's smart.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the fun thing about this draft is you've got all this stuff going on. We're finally here. It's Thursday, it's Friday, it's Saturday, and we're finally here. We're going to be able to see it all. We talked a little bit about the ratings. I'll give you a couple sleepers too, John. The last few years, there's a school up there by where you and I kind of grew up. Now, we were in Minnesota. We were at Central High, and you played all over the place. So did I, moving all around. South Dakota State just keeps on cranking out not just great football teams, but some great football players as well. And I thought it would be interesting to point out, first of all, they've got multiple players within the NFL right now. I think last time I looked, I think this year they might have had 11 players from South Dakota State playing in the NFL, which is amazing. This used to be Division II, then they went to 1, and they've had some great championship teams. Mason McCormick's an offensive lineman up there, 6'4", 310. Big, mean, athletic, wants to hurt people, but doing it the right way. But he's one of those guys that, when he's coming downfield, he is not going to give you anything on the side of love. It's going to be a forearm in your face. I mean, he's one of those aggressive offensive linemen, much more plays like a defensive lineman. Garrett Greenfield, another one. But they also, John, and this is the third year in a row, they've got a running back up there, this kid Isaiah Davis, 6 foot, 220. They recruited him, I think, out of Florida or something like that, John. But in any case, he's coming out of South Dakota State as a running back, probably one of the better running backs in the draft. And the reason I say that is he's one of these guys who just doesn't lose yards. There's certain guys out there who know how to run the ball. Are they going to break it away? Probably not. He's not going to get a breakaway for a 60-yard touchdown. But you know what? He's not going to get the 3-yard loss either. He's one of these guys who's going to get you 4, 5, 6 every once in a while. Maybe he makes it 12. But they've got 3 guys right there, and they've got a few more that might not even get drafted. But I'll tell you what, South Dakota State is getting more and more represented, John, when it comes to getting players into the NFL. It just says a lot about how they recruit, what they're doing. It used to be North Dakota State. Now it's South Dakota State. And these guys are doing something right.
Yeah, they've got some great coaching, Pete. Obviously, they're able to attract talent that is probably just shy of the stuff that Nebraska or Minnesota or Iowa would normally take into the Big Ten. But now, I think South Dakota State, they're the Jackrabbits, isn't it, Pete, or something? Yep. They are beasts, and it's got to be good coaching too. And it's not just at one position. It's not just quarterbacks. Right. It's not just defense. It's, several good coaches that are probably going to be moving up into other D1 jobs because they're getting noticed that they're putting out talent.
Yep. It's all the excitement that goes into the whole draft night and everything else. And some of these guys know where they're going to most likely get drafted, if they get drafted. But the excitement starts tonight. People are pretty fired up about it. I don't know about you, but I definitely will be glued in on this whole thing. I love it. I love watching all of the whole process. It's up in Detroit, so those fans will be going crazy.
Yeah. I love the New York fans' reactions when they're up in the balcony when they do it in New York. We'll have to see how the Detroit fans react. Yeah. And remember, folks, It's Not an Option is the book that Pete and I have out right now, one of the top business books of 2024. You can get it by going to itsnotanoption.com. That's itsnotanoption.com. Check it out. Free shipping. You can claim your free copy. And we hope you join us again Monday because Pete and I will be up in Detroit watching the draft. So no Rebels Edge tomorrow. See you Monday.